Good.
All right, Jim, you guys are live on YouTube Live right now. So,
Means we've got to behave.
all right, Jim, you guys are live on YouTube Live right now. So,
Means we've got to behave.
Yeah, so Donnie, that you're going to have to mute that.
yeah, I'm trying.
Okay. Facebook Live is got a pretty bad lag behind Zoom, so that's what that echo was. All right, Don, it's 2:30. You want to give it just another minute or two and get some more folks on here? I know we had several registered for today. There you go. Sorry, I had you muted here.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, I think we're up to what, 17 so far. Not going to be close to what you guys had the other day on Wednesday, which looked like great numbers. But what are we up to? Yeah, we're at 17 right now. I think if Aaron and Chuck are ready to go, if you're ready to go, why don't we roll with it?
Yeah, we'll roll with it. All right. Well, thanks everybody who's joining us this afternoon on a beautiful Friday, Good Friday, that is. And so thank you for being here. I am really proud of this session and the ones that we're going to be having every Friday for the next few weeks with Chuck and Aaron. And I'm especially proud of the partnership in which we're doing this with our great friends at Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports. Don and I have talked several times throughout this process, and we know that everyone has been affected by COVID-19, but the tourism and hospitality industries have been hit especially hard. And we know that, and we feel for them. And so this was Don's idea to partner on this and try to bring some healing and hope and optimism to our friends in the hospitality and tourism industries. And no two better people to do that than Chuck and Aaron. And so before we kick it off to them, Don, on behalf of Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports, anything you want to say?
No, I just real quick want to say what an amazing job that you've done from day one. TTS is lockstep with you, and of course, Mayor Maddox and City Council, and that's the way it should be. The tireless work that you put in, your staff over the last 3-4 weeks is amazing, and we're just thankful that we've got you, Jim, and all the stuff that you've done and letting us partner on this one. So no sense in reinventing the wheel. You guys have already got this taken care of. So thanks for letting us be on that platform.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate you saying that, but I know you've been taking great care of the hospitality industry, and this is just another resource you're providing them. And so I thank you for that. So Chuck Went and Aaron Hines with Lifeline Solutions are our guest speakers. They did a great presentation for us for the chamber on Wednesday. And so if you weren't a part of that on Wednesday, you're in for a treat today. So Chuck, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Well, thank you. First, I just want to say we're very glad to be here with y'all. And as counselors at Lifeline, it's always been our goal to be a resource for the community. And we are especially happy to be able to provide these services for the members of the hospitality industry. And because so many of y'all have been impacted by the changes that this virus has caused us to have to make in our way of life and on a daily basis. And it's so many people are displaced and you're going through some hardships at this time. I'm sure that the hardships you're facing professionally and personally seem both surreal and unbearable, and at times. And today we hope to offer some comfort and support and maybe some resources for you and your members. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Aaron, and Aaron's going to take it from here.
All right, everyone. So yeah, today I want to go through just some basics that you might want to be asking yourself and thinking about as you're moving through the next few weeks or months. You know, we've all kind of been scrambling over these last few days and weeks to figure out what this new way of being is. And so in that new time, as we're going through day to day, as we're just creating, waking up each morning, I'm sure all of you are doing and going, what does today bring? I mean, we're really kind of just having to live day to day right now. And I think what I would ask all of you to do is ask yourself, you know, how are you coping with this? How are you coping with these new circumstances? And you know, every day, just to yourself and to each other on your teams, your coworkers that you may not see every day anymore, reaching out to others and to yourself just to look in about how you are coping, because many of us, when we're in times of crisis, draw on many unhealthy coping strategies, and many of us are kind of in a state of panic. So you want to look around and think about, you know, if you are in a state of panic, or if you are in a state of totally caught up and immersed in this crisis, or if you are, you know, how you are getting through it. I mean, some of us may be isolating, some of us may be more fearful, you know, just having these fearful responses that we don't really know how to handle, because, you know, most of the time in our profession, you may be more in a state of confidence. And so right now we don't have that confidence because we don't know what to do. And there's not a real good plan or guideline to get through this. And so I know you all may be in different circumstances that are on the call today. You know, some of you may still be working. I know ultimately we want to try to reach some people that may be furloughed or displaced or not able to work, because obviously those hardships financially are very difficult. And many of you may have been on the front line of having to tell staff that, you know, there was not going to be work or was not going to be pay, and the guilt or the you know, feelings that come with that are pretty incredible. Not that anyone has any power or control about what happened, but just having to be leaders in times like that and help communicate these messages to staff members can be really tough. And so I want to just make sure I go ahead and say this throughout our talk today, that we do want to directly hear and answer any questions that you have. So feel free, if you're thinking of something as we go through this that you want to make sure we speak to, please, you know, put that in the chat and let us know, because, you know, Chuck and I both, as have always, as we try to help people, you know, want to hear what the needs are, not just assume what people's needs are, because they're all different and in all different circumstances. So anything specifically that you want us to try to hit on today, we want to do that. So I'm going to go through a couple of just kind of slides of information. I know some of you may have been on yesterday. I don't want to be repetitive, but I do want to hit some of the points that I think are important and things that we can all be thinking about as we move through this to kind of improve how we're functioning about it. Because specifically in your industry, and I think why these Fridays are focusing on your industry is because your industry has been one that's been, you know, hit hard. I mean, sure, hospitals and the medical community has hit hard in their own way, but in the hospitality industry, there's just no customers right? There's no clientele, there's nobody in the hotels, there's nobody in the restaurants. You know, while we have faced many crises in our lifetime that we've come through, we have never faced one with this social isolation piece. And so, collectively, you know, as members of the hospitality industry, there aren't people to serve. And so that sense of purpose, that sense of drive, and I'm sure you all know people in your industry are used to working long hours and with tight knit crews. And so this is really hard because it's broken it all up and kind of taken away that purpose. And there's not really any roadmap on how that has ever happened and is affecting you. So, you know, with all that uncertainty, what often happens is we go into kind of a survival mode when we're facing things that we don't have a template for. We go to our real basic innate sense of how do we survive. And so part of what I want to talk about today, and I'm going to kind of use an illustration because it is something I think you can remember. It's Dan Siegel kind of explains our brain this way. If you just think of this fist that I have here, that our survival basic brain stem is what leads our basic functioning. And so, and this being our amygdala and nervous center, and then this being our prefrontal cortex brain that protects us and covers everything up. When we're in crisis, it's like you might say, you flipped your lid, you don't have any of these higher level functionings on board, and you're really functioning out of this crisis center. And so most of us on our day to day, when you're having to put out fires and think and plan and debrief and regroup about what's happening, you're really operating in that crisis center for the most part. And so today, you know, what we're wanting to talk about and think about is how to bring those other things online that do help protect us from stress and from crisis. And so, and then how to take care those parts of our life so that you are in your best state for handling these difficulties. And one of the things I think that keeps us in that fear crisis loop is we're all conditioned to have this negativity bias. And most of us who are business leaders or individuals who are maybe administrators of your programs or bosses at work, you're taught and we're innately set up to have this negativity bias to look for problems. You know, we look for problems and are constantly scanning our environment for the problem. I mean, just think about in your industry, if you're a hotel, running a hotel or a restaurant, if you get 5-star reviews 99% of the time, that doesn't impact you as much as if you get that one negative review. And we focus on that one negative review as a way to improve what we're doing. And that's just how we function. We're looking for the negative. And so in a time like this, it's extra hard to kind of find the hope and to think about the positive and the positive, you know, experiences that can get us through this. So just kind of being aware of that and knowing that that's how we're set up. And that's why the things that we're going to be talking about today are important so that we can get out of that negativity mindset and come more online to what we can do and what we can feel good about in order to get through this. So I'm going to take a breath, ask everybody else to just take a breath. I do see some chats that are coming in, and I've asked at the beginning of this, Jim, I'm not seeing the chats on the side. So at some point I'll take a pause, and if you want to read those for me or show me where to read those, I'll be happy to answer those questions. So but I'll just move forward talking about a couple of areas, and then I'll take some of those questions.
Yeah, and I can certainly ask those to you if that'll be easier.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm afraid to click on that button because I don't want to lose anything. So anyhow, I'll get better at this as we go. But so you want to think about different areas of your life, your physical health. How are you taking care of yourself? You know, if you're not going into work every day or not going into the office, it's easy to let your physical health suffer, maybe. And if you're depressed or laying on the couch or not eating well or drinking too much or, you know, doing too much of the wrong thing, it can really impact your health. So you want to be thinking about what self-care are you doing to stay fit? You know, are you exercising? Are you, there's many ways to stay fit at home, many apps that are available in free, that people have opened. Nike's opened up all its parts of its app for people to be able to do in-home workouts or yoga, things just to keep the body moving. And also getting outdoors, in addition to just staying fit in your house, getting outdoors, whether that's walking around your yard or going to some of the parks or trails that are open, maintaining your distance, but still being able to get some physical exercise, just getting out in nature, feeling some sunlight, getting vitamin D, helping your immune system by connecting with nature, breathing fresh air. And fortunately, this has happened at a time where it's been beautiful outside most days. And so we can get out and enjoy that. So really thinking about the importance of your physical body, because if you're not taking care of your body, then you're going to be more immune compromised and be more at risk to catching anything when you are having to take that trip to the grocery store or whatnot. So you want to protect yourself as much as you can by taking care of your body. And in doing that too, a very important part of that is your sleep. And I'm trying to point this out because most of the time when we're very anxious, it does affect our sleep. We have things on our mind. You might be looking at news stories before you go to bed. Really, thinking about a better way to set yourself up to have better sleep is really important. And ways to do that are to try to avoid bringing up anything stressful right before you go to bed, taking time to kind of debrief. If you're going to look at anything, only look at positive, listen to some guided sleep meditations, do some things that really help facilitate you getting into a state of calm and comfort before lying down and trying to get to rest. And so physical health, very important. And I just want to talk about emotional and social connectedness as well. And then we'll kind of move on into some questions y'all might have. But with your emotional well-being, all of those things for physical health help you emotionally as well. Very important too, though, to think about clearing your mind. Mindfulness, meditation are some key things we're going to talk about today, and I'll actually walk us through a meditation if y'all are up for that, just to kind of help you see the benefit of being present with yourself and doing a mindfulness exercise that can really help to get away from all the stress of the moment that it's so hard to pull our way from right now. There are many apps, Headspace, Calm, Vision Pursue, or a couple just to point out that you can learn how to do mindful meditation, and we'll actually walk you through a practice that you can develop on your own to have a 5 to 10 minute a day, something to do in the morning or before bedtime to help clear your mind. And then other things that can help you emotionally during this time are getting in touch with that creative part of your brain that is typically offline when you're in high productivity or work mode. So if you do have more time on your hands, free time, thinking about what your creative self wants to do. Is there a hobby that you have put off getting engaged in that you could do? Is there an instrument lying around your house that you haven't played in a while that you could pick up and try to practice, watch some YouTube videos, learn something, learn a craft, learn a skill? Think about things to get that creative part of your mind engaged so that you're not constantly in that logical worry part of your mind that we can so often stay in. And then also remembering to process what we are feeling with somebody. And if you don't have anyone in your life that you're comfortable talking with, if you're not talking with if you don't have a partner or family member or friend, now might be a time that you want to think about finding somebody to talk to. I know we here at Lifeline, we're therapists. There's many therapists in town that are open to telemedicine right now and seeing clients. So you might need to think about a therapist or a pastor or a mentor or somebody that you could establish some relationship with to have a person to be a guide to help you get through not only this time, but other stressful times to come in the future. I think for many of us, working on things through this crisis are going to help us be better prepared down the road for many other crises that will come our way. It's really, as with everything, an opportunity to look within and strengthen what can be strengthened and have a better platform for handling future problems that will come. And with connecting with others, I just want to point out the importance of that social cohesion. I mean, we all long to be a part of something, to be together, to belong, whether that be spiritually or socially. This crisis, more than others, has affected that because of all the physical distance we've had to have. I don't know about y'all, but, not being able to hug people, not being able to shake people's hands, not being able to do a lot of the common ways, especially here in the South, that we greet people, it's very hard. And we long for that connection, and we long for that connection. So looking at ways to do that, whether it's through meetings like this that you're hosting on Zoom, you can do that in your personal life. It's very easy to get a basic account and connect with your friends or family that way. Looking at meetings that are available online now in other cities that maybe you can be a part of that you haven't been able to be a part of in the past. Whether it be anything from a church that's online or AA meetings. I mean, there's all sorts of meetings that have gone to online formats that you can still connect with people and be a part of something that is so important for all of us. And through that process of connecting with others, also looking for ways to be of help and of service, especially again here in our community. We all know that any crises that we face, from the tornado or anything else, helping each other helps us get through this. And so looking at ways to be a resource and either connect or donate your time or money or whatever resource you can to help the cause helps people feel like you're contributing. And so if you have been displaced from your work, being able, I talked to a client earlier today that he and his grandmother were making masks for her people at her work at home in their free time. I mean, looking at ways that many people are contributing and donating their time or ideas to help the community or others get through this is an important way that can help build our resiliency. Because really struggling together may be the best we can do, leaning on each other, being there for each other, knowing that nobody has all the answers. There's no experts. There's no one wise all that knows everything right now. It's really each of us collectively bringing together our ideas, creating new solutions. How can we get through this best we can? So with that, I'm going to take a breath, and I was going to do a kind of meditation that will take a couple minutes. But Jim, if there are any questions that I want to take now before we get into that, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, there's a question here. If you want to take that before we do the meditation, what would you say is the best way to have a work-life balance during the work week? This person's finding it difficult to completely unplug from work.
So, and especially, I'm not sure what your circumstance is. If you're working from home, like many people are, that's extra hard because you're in your home, and trying to create that balance is hard when you're constantly wearing different hats. And so, what most people seem to benefit from is having a specific time set aside for work and a time for your non-work time. So, and I know that's been hard. Most of us are used to going to an office at certain hours and then being at home certain hours, and it can be easier to delineate that. But, trying to stay on some structure as best you can. A certain time, your schedule may have changed, your alarm may be going off at a different time, but setting up your day that says, okay, I wake up, I do my morning routine, and then I have this time I work, and then I have this time that I'm taking my work hat off and I'm doing family time or recreation time. So as best you can, looking at your day, planning that out, because that is something you have control and choice about. Even though we don't have choice and control about a lot right now, you can look at your day, look at it like a pie chart and section it out. How much time do you have, and what do you want to divide that time to, and what sections? And it doesn't have to be perfect, but like, in the work hours, you're going to try to do more of your work. And in the evening hours, you're going to try to do most of your free time and recreation, or whatever that typical pattern was for you, trying to set that up as much as you can. And so that's what I would say about that. And I'll go on into the meditation, and then I'm going to invite Chuck in to kind of help me with some questions and hear his insight about those things as well. But thanks for the question and for the rest of the questions that might come. So again, this could be something new for you guys. While you're at home, I'll put a plug out there for Tara Brock. Shelter in Place is a series that she has done through this, and each week she's releasing a new part of her series. She's a psychologist and meditation mindful leader in our country, and you can find her information on our website. I'll talk more about later, but she has a book that really has a good meditation practice that I think would be good to kind of think about as you're going through the weeks and days to come, that you can just kind of use to check in with yourself every day about. And so in doing this, I would just ask you all, you're probably in a seated position anyway at your desk or wherever, just think about getting comfortable where you are and just close your eyes and then just try to take a few long breaths. We typically breathe shallow when we're anxious and stressed. So intentionally take some longer breaths, like 3 to 4 seconds in, 5 to 6 seconds out. So just breathing, and I'll just kind of do it with you, like just take about 3 of those in and out. And then I'm going to invite you to just ask yourself, just kind of look and check in with yourself and just kind of recognize what you are experiencing. You know, just try to ask yourself, in this meditation, the first acronym letter of it is R, recognize. You just want to recognize and ask yourself how you're feeling and what's happening. So in any given day, in any given moment, when you're feeling overwhelmed, just stop and breathe and check in and recognize, what is this that's coming up for me? And then after the R of recognize, this acronym is RAIN, you're going to allow whatever it is to be okay. Just accept whatever you're feeling. That could be stress. That could be worry about all sorts of things related to or not related to our current crisis. It could be that you're just really missing not being able to go to your favorite restaurant. I mean, whatever it is that comes up, just allow it and notice it. And then you're going to investigate, is the I of this range. You're just going to ask yourself, how is this affecting me? How is this affecting my body? You know, if you're missing somebody, you might in your heart feel kind of some pain and some homesick or heartsick. Or if you're worried, it might be in your gut or your stomach that you might be just uneasy. Kind of look at how your body is being affected by your emotions and what you're feeling. And then from that place, you just kind of want to look into that. And then the N of this RAIN acronym is nurture. And you want to ask yourself, what do I need? What do I need to hear? What do I need to receive? What do I need to believe? And so if you're doing this RAIN acronym on a daily basis and you just are doing these breaths and asking yourself, what am I feeling? The R, recognize. The A, allow and accept it as it is. The I, investigate and ask how it's affecting you. And the N, nurture, give yourself what you need and take care of that. That can help you get through this. And it's this practice is a mindful meditation practice, along with many others that there's guides and resources about, to just help you stop and be able to look inside yourself. And then you can also stop and look at another, you know, and ask anybody else that you may be communicating with in your family or at work. You know, how are you feeling? Investigating, allowing, finding out whether that's coming from, and nurture. Ask the person you love or you work with or you're there for, what do you need? What can I do to help? And so this RAIN acronym is a really good way to not only look inside yourself and be compassionate towards you, but also to use it with others and help your communication with that. And so that nurturing is really key in this, because it helps us get to a place of compassion and love where we can kind of heal through this. So I really love Tara's RAIN acronym which is the nurture. And so many of us, as we go through any crisis, need to know what we need and need to be able to fill that need and to be able to receive some love and compassion for ourselves. So practicing anything like that, any mindfulness, allowing your feelings without judgment can really kind of help melt away fears and can kind of help you move through emotions and not get stuck. So we'll talk some more. If you want to look at the questions, and Chuck, if you want to come in and
we do have a couple of questions. We also have a comment, not really a question, but from our friend Bill Buchanan, which I thought was a good one. That one thing he's found helpful is connecting to people he's lost touch with over the years, maybe from high school or college, and sharing music videos, songs, et cetera. So that's been a good way, I think, to connect with people, and I'm sure that would help anybody. Here's a couple of questions. One, I'll start with this one. Can you talk a little bit about the guilt that some people may be feeling, especially those who are working, knowing that there are so many people out there who are not working?
Yeah, I believe that, there's a lot of guilt going on at this time. A lot of people are feeling guilty not only about working while other people are staying home, but also about not being able to visit their loved ones. Someone's in a nursing home, someone's in a hospital room, and there's just a lot of things you cannot do at this time that you used to do and take for granted, I guess. But I'm sure that it's a lot to cope with, and all you can do is just focus on what you have to do on any given day and push forward, and it would probably help to talk to someone about some of those feelings. If they wanted to call someone like Aaron or myself or someone else in the community and just kind of process what they're feeling, because it would be more easily addressed if I think we were actually dealing with the situation. But in general, I would just say that you have to get up and you have to do what you have to do every day. And then if you're being dragged down by feelings of guilt, and it's especially bothersome, then I think you can probably talk that out with a professional, and it would probably help a great deal. Do you have anything to add to that, Aaron?
Yeah, well, just also knowing that it's easy for, especially leaders, or I imagine this person, many of people on here maybe are in supervisory positions, to feel responsible for those underneath you. And so if you have had to see that people aren't getting pay or aren't having jobs, and you're in an essential position where you're still being there, I think sometimes, just like when I just did that rain meditation, sending, even if it's just thoughts of love to others, prayers to others that are suffering, I think we have to look inside, spiritually, as to where we are, and find that energy that we can extend in ourselves and outside of ourselves to others. And I think, and most of what we're dealing with, I mean, none of us caused it. We can't cure it, and we can't keep ourselves on the hook about it. We're having to respond the best we can to protect our company or our family with the answers that we do have. And so it's hard to just ignore, well, it's not my fault. So I'm, because we are a culture that does feel responsible for things, even if they're not our responsibility. So I would say, a lot of times forgiveness helps guilt, but in this situation, you're not even forgiving yourself because you haven't done anything wrong. None of us have done anything wrong. We're just having to make some difficult decisions that are affecting people very negatively. So looking for resources, and I'll talk some about those that Don and I talked about earlier before this, that I want to make sure to share today. Looking for resources, directing people to resources, being a part of their solution. Some HR people I've talked to that had to lay people off, but were able to connect them to unemployment or other resources helps that, okay, I'm still doing something, even if I'm not able to give them a paycheck, I am directing them to some resources. So I think helping can help reduce that guilt, to know that you are doing something to be a part of that person's change.
Right. Another question, with so much rapid change happening right now and everybody's life being somewhat upended, at what point do feelings of sadness turn into a deeper depression? And what are some things you can do to really head that off?
Yeah. Well, yes, there's situational sadness. Just like in grief, if you lose somebody you love, I mean, we all go through a beginning process of sadness and grief. And really, if you look from a clinical point of view, I think it's like if that persists beyond a year, then, a year past that crisis, then that might have turned into some chronic depression. So I think anything that people are feeling immediately now with this crisis, you could assume might be situational that will resolve once the crisis is over. But, if a person is experiencing depression to the point that they can't get out of bed, that they can't take care of themselves, that they can't take care of those in their family, those would be kind of indicators that it might be a severe stress reaction that they're having now, and that might need some clinical intervention, so that it doesn't escalate into a worse crisis. So I think looking at that daily functioning of that person, and are they able to take care of themselves or others? And if they're not, then it's probably in that severe state that it would be best to go ahead and reach out to a professional to help with that severe
Yeah,
stress.
I think even before it reaches that severe state, I think if you're in that situational depression and it's plaguing you, you can help ward it off by reaching out again. And I think Aaron and I are going to be available to take phone calls. So if someone just wants to call and ask a question, we could definitely deal with that on the phone, help them process whatever they're feeling. And sometimes that's enough to start turning things around in itself without having to, let this get into a full-blown depression. So I would encourage people to reach out to a professional. As I said, Aaron and I are going to be available. It doesn't have to be a session. I will be available by phone. If somebody has a quick question they want to process, by all means, call us and we'll deal with that at the time. And we'll try to help you move past whatever you're feeling at that moment or give you some tools to work with.
Yeah, we'll certainly do this at the end of the webinar, but we'll go ahead and do it just so folks can jot it down. If they wanted to get more information about either of you or Lifeline Solutions, where would they go to get that information?
www.lifelinesolutionsllc.com is our website, and you can log on and just follow the little markers that lead you to wherever you want to go on there. So yeah, there's a lot of resources there, but there's also, you can call our phone number, which is office number is 205-310-8391. No, that's my number, isn't it? Okay, 205-737-3720. But you can call the other one too if you want to. I won't mind.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know Chuck, we both, our phones are always available. So yeah, if he just gave you his cell, we can put those up at the end, and I'm happy to share mine too. So, but our office number rings to us anyway, so we'll get it. Just reach out.
Hey, we've got another question here that's a good one, and it really revolves around humor and the role that humor and laughter can play for our mental and emotional health. And so, what role does humor play, and then what are some ways where people can incorporate some laughter into their life?
I've got to first say this because it was a very different thing from anything I've ever done, but one of the services that we've started offering here at Lifeline are some wellness and yoga and different meditations to teach people. And we haven't been able to have these groups because of this, obviously, but one of our practitioners who is interested in laughter yoga had asked us to, have an online laughter yoga. And so Gillian Shapiro is her name. I'll give her shout out, but she's a great yoga instructor. And so last Friday at 6 o'clock, we had a laughter yoga online. So our wellness calendar that we're updating as we offer some online services, because the thing that she always points out is even fake laughter releases the same chemicals that real laughter does. So, in laughter yoga, what do you do? I mean, we literally created ways to sit around and laugh for like a 20-minute session of laughing with people. And so laughter is really important in healing. And so I'm glad the individual brought it up because it does release positive chemicals into our body that reduce all the stress. And so it does give us the endorphins and good feelings that we need. And so watching funny movies, there's a lot of evidence on radical remission stories, even from cancer, that people who watch positive movies, funny things, listen to good they're going to recover at a better rate. So it's very important to keep laughter in the mix and to do that as often as you can during these times and not feel guilty when you do it.
Right.
You know, I think that's one thing. We feel guilty if we have fun because we're supposed to be miserable right now. And, you know, we have to get out of that.
I think it's important to kind of try to normalize things as much as possible in your house and with your spouse, with your children. And again, doing things that families do, like board games, you know, sitting and watching a movie together, just enjoying each other, you know, and trying to keep it as normal as possible for everybody so that there is some, because everybody gets dragged down when someone starts getting depressed, it seems to bring everybody down. So if we could, you know, kind of just try to make it a point to remember that we want to have some normal interaction with our family on a daily basis or whoever we can. If we can't, let's get on and Zoom a friend or Zoom a yoga instructor or a counselor or something, and let's laugh at them. But let's yeah, try to normalize as much as possible and process whatever we can.
We don't have any more questions in the queue. So as we're kind of wrapping up this Friday afternoon, obviously we're going into a weekend, and certainly those in the tourism and hospitality industry, weekends are big, especially in the spring here in our area. So that's going to be different. It's going to be slow, and it's Easter weekend at that. So we're all used to being around a lot of people and it being a festive and a celebratory weekend for all the right reasons. So what are some practical tips, things for us to all keep in mind as we go into the weekend to be able to keep our spirits high and not let fear and doubt and depression creep in during a weekend like this?
First off, I'd say that, you know, we're going through a temporary situation that we're going to come out on the other side of fairly soon, I hope. And you know, if we all do what we have to do now, we'll get there sooner. And so, you know, just don't lose track of the fact that this is not the rest of your life or even, you know, the rest of the year. It's just hopefully for the next few weeks, and we'll begin to get out on the other side of it at some point. So that was one thing. What do you want to hear?
Yeah, no, I saved a couple things for the end, but it's kind of on this note that, you know, we have gotten through things before and we have to remember that resiliency that we have. I mean, overcoming the tornado, the oil spill, the, you know, things that have impacted tourism specifically so negatively and adversely. The tourism industry always rebounds and recovers strong. And so, you know, keeping in mind that, you know, everybody has been so cooped up with this particular crisis that they're going to be ready to get out. So, you know, once we're on the other side, I mean, it will end and there will be another side and people will want to get out and keep those restaurants full and keep those hotels full, especially locally. People might not want to be fly away and do international travel. But here locally, people are going to be wanting to get out and I think embrace all the things that we've missed and all the things that maybe we took for granted. So, I mean, I think trying to keep hope that I think as Don said in a phone call we had, like, get ready because it's coming. So while you're in this time where maybe you're not as active professionally, thinking about resting for the fast and furious pace that we might be experiencing once people can get out, whether that's late summer or fall or whenever that is, there will be a rush and a flurry of activity that people will be wanting to engage in. And so keeping and hope alive for the end of that coming, and that this time that we can take right now to, every crisis gives us the opportunity to look inside and see what we like and change what we don't like. And so whether that's looking inside your heart or your mind or your organization or your house, if you don't like a paint color, change it. If you don't like how you're talking to people, change it. If you've been too mean, be nicer. I mean, so looking inside yourself and saying, this is a time I can do something different and I can figure out what's working and what's not and change it. And so I think keeping in mind that what we can do to change is really important. And that can give us hope that I can do something with this time to give some hope for better future on the other side.
I just want to add that I've heard it mentioned in several different venues on the radio and other presentations online. A lot of people are asking the question, you know, where's the first place you want to go out to eat after this thing passes so we can go out to eat. Which restaurant do you miss the most? Or which place do you want to go to first? You want to go to the beach? Do you want to go to the mountains? Do you want to, where do you want to go? But I think it's, yeah, I agree that it's all going to bounce back. And when it does, it's going to come back with a flurry. So
No question about it.
I just want to add some resources. I had asked Don about resources that people needed to make sure they were aware of. So locally, want to make sure, I know Don says he's sending out emails to everyone, but that TTS is paid for the American Lunch Truck, which is there from 11 to 2 in front of 5. I believe you said right, Don, that's available for hospitality workers displaced currently. So knowing that they can go there and get lunch as a super local resource that TTS has made available. So while that's great, there's also some other resources. There's, I think, new things coming every day to try to be abreast of, and people donate money and money running out. But HARA, the Alabama Hospitality Restaurant Association, Don pointed out DI, Destination International, US Travel, and that Chip Rogers, the CEO of the American Hotel and Lodging, is constantly updating with some new information and insight about how to get through this. So, and Don and his staff, even though TTS is closed, they're working remotely from home. Don's at work every day. So if there's any way he or his staff can be a help to you, reaching out and accessing them and utilizing their expertise and wisdom and hope and encouragement through this.
Aaron, thank you for saying that. And I'll just add one notation is that what I started with to begin is the work that Jim and his team are doing. I mean, I have seen, whether it's DI or travel, US travel, RHA has been amazing, but right here in our town, I feel like we're so ahead of the curve because of what happened before with the tornado. The leadership starting from our mayor all the way down. But what Jim has done under that leadership there, they're ahead of the curve here in our state. So I'd encourage you that are on this call to continue to stay like TTS, lockstep with the chamber, because there's some amazing information and it's so current. So Jim didn't ask me to say that. I'm telling you that from the heart.
Well, thank you, Don. That means a lot. Our team has been fantastic, and they've tried to be talking to folks every day. We've tried to put out a lot of great information. Amy's sending out a ton. Social media, we're all over that. Donnie's kept our website really active with great updates and information. So anybody that's on this call, please take advantage of those resources that are there because it'll help us get through this. There's no doubt. And earlier this afternoon, Amy sent out the email with next week's programming in our schedule of, we've got something every day next week, whether it's unemployment information, updates from local elected officials, you name it. So there's still a lot of great information out there that I hope everybody will take advantage of. And all that's on our website, TuscaloosaChamber.com. But Chuck, Aaron, thank you for your time today. This is a great way to end a long week and a great way to start our Easter weekend, hearing from the two of you. And as I said earlier, I'm already looking forward to every Friday now because this is a great way to lift our spirits and prepare us for the long weekends. And Don, this is your call, and we're doing this in partnership with you. And so I'm going to let you close us out today.
Well, again, thank you for everybody who's joined us. And I guess we'll have to get ready for the laughter yoga class. I don't know if they make leotards big enough for me, but I'm looking forward to that and getting some video of that. We'll put that out there on Facebook.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we can introduce any of those things on these Fridays. We do have several yoga instructors and meditation leaders and different people working with us. So depending on what people want, ask your people what they want, and we can offer some things. We can do some additional deep breathing and meditation or the laughter yoga, any exercises that might be helpful to your staff or the people joining in. So feel free to shoot us emails about what people want and we'll provide it.
And you can do yoga without leotards.
Okay. All right. Good deal.
Well, Donnie Jones on our team, he's been coming into work every day like I have, and he has worn tights every single day. Now I can put them to good use. So I'm proud that we've got this option.
All right.
All right, everybody have a great Easter week. There he is. I knew it.
You guys are funny.
All right. Y'all have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right.
All
Thank
right,
you.
be safe.
You.
Yeah.